don't need all of this and can start with much less, but I'm going to take you through my essentials. Hi, I'm Liana. I am a home-based baker in the Algarve, Portugal. I thought it might be helpful if I share some of my essentials that I can't live without. The first thing is a mixer. This is a Kenwood Titanium Chef Baker. Let me make some space. For context, I make predominantly celebration and wedding cakes. So for me, the workhorse of my home bakery is my mixer. I use a Kenwood Titanium Chef Baker XL. I switched about a month ago from a KitchenAid. I'm gonna do a video discussing the reasons why I switched to the Kenwood, but any stand mixer would be really helpful. You don't necessarily need a stand mixer to get started. A hand mixer is also a great option. This is how I mix my ingredients, how I make my buttercream. I use it for pretty much everything. The next thing would be scale. I weigh all of my ingredients. Everything is weighed, even eggs. It makes your recipes a lot more accurate and gives you consistent results. I do, however, use measuring spoons for small amounts of liquids like vanilla extract or baking soda. If you want very accurate measurements of things like baking powder, baking soda, very small quantities of ingredients, I would recommend a precision scale. And this allows me to measure things up to 5-10 grams. These larger scales are only accurate from about 10 grams, and even then probably more like 50. Then something to consider, but it's not essential, it depends on the type of fillings that you make, is an immersion blender. This is useful for buttercream to intensify colors or to really smooth it out to get the bubbles out of your buttercream. It's also great if you make ganaches. It gives you a very smooth ganache, salted caramel. It really is a brilliant investment. And this doesn't need to be a brand name. You can pick up a inexpensive version for about 15-20 euros at Aldi, Lidl, or on Amazon. So to bake your cakes, or to bake my cakes, I use tall cake tins. These are 10 centimeters or 4-inch high, and it allows me to bake double layers, which allows for tall cakes. So you don't need as many tins. You need 2 tins to make a 4-layer cake. I have various sizes: 4-inch for mini or bento cakes, 5-inch, 6-inch, 7-inch, and 8-inch. And the cake tins that I really like are PME. They're really good quality, they are easy to clean, and these are the ones I use. So to cut my cake layers or to tort the cake, I use a cake leveler with a serrated wire in the middle, and it allows you to cut your cake levels and get pretty even layers. You don't need this, it's not essential. You can use a knife, so a serrated bread knife is also an option and perfectly workable. You don't need to buy something to start that. I got the Algarve cake leveler. This is not an essential, and it works more like a serrated knife. So a serrated knife gives you a very clean cut when you cut the cake layers. It's quite smooth and you don't get as many crumbs. I find that a wire cake leveler gives me a lot of crumbs on the outside, which means the crumb coat is then more important. But the Algarve cake leveler works sort of like it's an actual blade, like a bread knife. So it allows you to get a really clean cut. It's very accurate. The blade is incredibly sharp. So for decorating your cakes, and applying your buttercream, you would need an offset spatula. I like a small offset spatula. They come in various sizes. I find you get more precision out of a small one, and it's really nice to work with. Offset spatula essential for putting for smoothing the buttercream on your cake. Cake smoother or scraper. These come in various sizes and depend on the height of the cake that you're going to make. I would recommend getting a cake scraper that is as close to the height of the cake that you're making as possible, as this will allow you to have straighter edges. If you're making a small cake and you're using a very tall cake scraper, you are more likely to end up with a misshapen cake. To smooth your cake, you would need a turntable. This is the first turntable I bought, and I used this for a while. It's a plastic turntable. When you use the turntable, always put a non-stick mat down before you put your cake board. This is great if you're just starting out, if cake decorating is just a hobby, and it's really easy to get on Amazon. But if you would like smoother result, more precision, then I would recommend a stainless steel one. If you listen carefully, you can hear that this one has a smoother rotation. That one's quite loud. If you are looking at investing in one, I would say get a stainless steel one. It doesn't need to be name branded. This is just one from Amazon as well. I can't live without this for decorating my cakes. A probe candy thermometer. I use this for salted caramel, Swiss meringue buttercream. You can also insert it into your cakes to make sure they're properly cooked. This is essential. You can pick one up on Amazon. It doesn't have to be anything very fancy. You can also use a trigger thermometer, but I find the probe thermometer easier to use. And my laptop. This might seem completely random, but I have all my recipes on Excel or Numbers or some sort of spreadsheet program on my laptop. I use that for easy recipe scaling, for recipe pricing, for cake pricing when you're looking at the cost of a cake with the fillings and the buttercream, adding profit. I can't bake without my laptop. It is essential. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. These are some of my essentials as a home baker. If you have any questions about any of the items, feel free to drop them in the comments. Let me know what your essentials are. You definitely don't need all of this. You can start with very little, and it also depends on the type of baking that you will be doing. These are the items that make my life easier. Please hit the subscribe button if you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.